Now, you've held public office on the council level and also the state level for quite a while now. Why have you stuck with it, and is that experience, you think, important?
I think it's very important, especially in today's times. I just enjoy serving people, helping people. It sounds cliche, but when someone calls in your office and they're running into bureaucratic roadblocks and you can make their life better, I get enjoyment from that.
What in your educational or professional background you think makes you a better leader than most?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I've been doing this most of my professional career. I started out as an intern in the General Assembly. Then I worked for a government relations firm. I worked in the state Senate as a research analyst, worked in Governor Bredesen's administration. And as you said, I've been an elected official in the Metro Council and the State House. So I know the ins and outs of government pretty well.
How do you feel about Governor Lee's idea for toll lanes, starting on I-24 and maybe beyond?
I'm totally opposed to it. We refer to them as Lexus lanes. It's to allow a private individual to build our roads and for private corporations to make money off of people who are trying to get to work, trying to make a living for their families. At the same time, Governor Lee's administration just refuses to even look at the possibility of rail. We have all these rail lines through here, and when is Governor Lee going to make a trip to Jacksonville to the home of CSX and make a deal with them to use those lines so we can, especially in the 24 and 65 corridors, there's no reason for them not to explore that.
Aren't they always bringing up cost as being prohibitive?
Well, the cost they're going to, pawn onto the working people by them paying a toll to get to work. So I think we've added the gas tax. We've not seen anything resulting from that very much, especially in the Nashville area. So they need to explore the rail option, and the feds would help out with that. But you can't build enough lanes to build yourself out of this crisis. Whatever we do right now, it's probably not going to get any better. It's just going to stop it from getting any worse.
Here in Nashville, what do you think about O'Connell's transit plan?
I like the idea of, the first transit plan a few years back. You looked at the map, and my area, there was nothing on the map. There was nothing for my constituents. So how could I go out to my constituents and say, hey, we're going to raise your taxes in all these ways, but you're really going to get nothing out of it? With the light synchronization, the sidewalks, the bike lanes, that's something that's going to benefit the entire county. So, it's a great concept, I think, and the people get to decide on it. That's even the best concept of it.
While we're talking about allocating money in different places, school vouchers, what's your take?
I am so opposed to school vouchers. It's a bill of goods. It's a scam. They first said it's to help kids in failing schools. They're going to give $7,000 to a child in a district with a failing school. So it's not just the kids in a failing school or the schools they've labeled as failing. So they're going to hand $7,000. The average private school in Davidson County is $16,000. So you're handing a kid that probably is in the family of a single parent. That parent is probably working 2 jobs. Where are they going to come up with the other $9,000 for tuition? And how are they going to get to that private school that doesn't provide transportation each day? So it's an entitlement program for the wealthy, for people who are already in private schools.
You've been up there on the Hill in a time of great contention when very little, it seems, has been accomplished. Can you name something that you could work on with the other side cooperatively?
Yeah, I think last year, Cameron Sexton and I sponsored a bill together. He was my co-sponsor, where we made it a felony to make a threat to a school. So, yeah, we can work together. And Cameron called me the day that MLK got the threat last year because he knew where I would be. He knew I would be at my child's school. And I was on the sidewalk in front of MLK, and Cameron's like, if they catch the person, it's just going to be a slap on the wrist. They're not going to do anything to them. And all those kids, before, there's been probably 25 threats or more since my kid's been at MLK because the school is Martin Luther King magnet. And before, the kids would just go and lock down. They'd go in their storage room closets or wherever, their safe areas, and it'd be over. Well, after Covenant, Metro Police has to react like it's the real thing. So there's 200 police officers, there's a tactical team, there's helicopters overhead, there's sirens. The kids can hear all this. They're traumatized, even though it wasn't the real thing. So for somebody to do that to these children who are just trying to learn and get an education, and we don't do anything to them. So I was happy to work with Cameron, and he's had the same thing in his district at his high schools. So we can work together. And speaking of Covenant, that's another thing I think we can all work together. The polls show that people don't want someone who's mentally ill or violent to have a weapon. And we can work together to come to some solution on the gun violence in this state. It's a shame when the number one killer of people under 18 years of age in our state is gun death.
Do you support the so-called extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws?
Or temporary transfer, whatever people feel comfortable calling it. But if someone is off their medication, that's mentally ill, we need to be able to go take that weapon. If someone's in a domestic violence situation, we need to be able to go take that weapon for a cooling off period, or for the mentally ill person to get regulated, to get back to normal. We can't have people who are dangerous to themselves or others with weapons, especially assault rifles.
But what we saw last year, people being pulled out of the Capitol, did a plan like that have a prayer?
It goes back to voter turnout. We're not a red state, we're a non-voting state. We're last in the union in voting. So if people care about these issues, they'll show up and vote.
Yeah. Finally, what can we do to increase voter turnout?
Same-day voter registration, just so many things, vote by mail. I mean, our Secretary of State and our Coordinator of Elections do everything they can to stop people from voting. We should encourage people to vote. They still are all on this, there's so much voter fraud. They sent out thousands of letters, more or less intimidating people with foreign-sounding names that, if you vote and you're not a citizen, it's a foul. Who does that? I mean, we've spent thousands of dollars sending out these letters to intimidate our citizens. And in fact, you have my opponent who admitted in the Election Commission to forging her petition, signatures on her petition, with the Coordinator of Elections sitting there, and he seems to not care about that felony. but he will go after people who he thinks are not from this country.
We all know that abortion is now illegal in Tennessee. Do you support exceptions for rape, incest, life of the mother?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, to force a woman to carry her rapist baby, it is beyond abhorrence. I cannot believe we're in the situation we are today in this state, where women have this about the same rights that they would if the Taliban were in control of our state government. Women should be, the turnout for women votes should be enormous this year, and I think it will be. All the polls I've seen, that is the number one issue, women's rights and a woman's right to health care and to life, and I think they will show up and send a message.